Hey guys, it is noon on Tuesday, day 2 of BBB, Build Your Body, Belief, and Bank Account. And we're going to get started here in just 1 second. Man, I was just kind of really in a time crunch earlier, just trying to, I got a phone call like right before it was time to get on with you guys. So anyway, if you are just jumping on, then go ahead and drop a comment to say hello. Tell me where you're joining from. So go ahead and drop a comment. Let me know where you're joining from. I'd love to hear that. Hello. Hey, Barb. Did you get your chocolate mint shake? Alrighty, you guys, so we are going to start off again with a little bit of housekeeping. So just a couple things to remember. I am getting a lot of people who have not confirmed their email address. So in order for you to get your workbook, when you sign up, when you go to the link to sign up for the training, hey Missy, you'll get an email asking you to confirm your email address. Okay, so you go to the link to sign up, and then you should receive an email. If you don't get it, check your spam folder. You have to confirm your email address in order for you to start getting emails, get your workbook, and all that good stuff. Okay? Hey, Ann, Western PA, Atlanta, Georgia, Oklahoma. Awesome. Welcome, you guys. So again, confirm your email address, super duper important. If someone could type the link to the training in the comments, I would greatly appreciate it. It takes me too long to do that. And you can find the link, it's in the cover photo of the Prime Life Fit group. So it's that http bit.ly/PLF_BBBT. So if somebody could type that in the comments, I would greatly appreciate it. You guys can join the training at any time. You just will, I'm sending out links to each day's videos, so you'll just have to get caught up, okay? But ideally, you would have started from the beginning. So confirm your email address. Also yesterday, I announced via email the creation of the Facebook group. So we all know that some of this stuff, you know, it gets kind of heavy, right? And I wanted you guys to have a safe and supportive environment where you could talk about things and review the topics that we're going through and all that fun stuff. So I created that group. You need to check your email. The link is in the email, and I will send it out again today for those of you who are just hopping in, and you'll have to request to join. So it's a closed group, and I don't want just anybody jumping in there because this is our safe, sacred space. So yeah, very heavy stuff yesterday, right? Brought up a lot of stuff. And first of all, before we get going, couple of deep breaths. Okay, so just inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth, inhale, and exhale, letting go of any negativity or anything that you're feeling. Just let it all go. What is our hashtag? Does anybody remember our hashtag from yesterday? Type it in the comments. What's our hashtag? We are going to LTSG, right? We've got to, and honestly, guys, I mean, it sounds overly simplified, but a lot of it does come down to learning and starting to LTSG, let that stuff go. So we took a journey yesterday, right? We took a journey back to childhood. We thought out, that's right, Missy, you got it. Thought about, you know, what or who influenced who we are today, you know, our beliefs, our thoughts about ourselves, how we show up in the world, and it got kind of heavy, right? So what I'd love for you to do is, if you could go back, or what would your 5-year-old self say to yourself, your current self? What would she say to you? And I know mine would probably say, you need to lighten up. You need to have more fun. You need to dance more. You need to just, let go. And so what would your 5-year-old self say to you? And today we're gonna focus on rewriting that story. Okay, rewriting that story from what we've learned from so many years of programming. We're gonna focus on rewriting that. And in the workbook, I talk a lot about self-love. Okay, and as I was going through it last night and thinking about it more and reading your comments in the group, in the Facebook group, I started thinking I've really missed an element in this workbook, and it's not just about self-love, it's about forgiveness. And forgiveness of those who we feel have harmed us or shaped us into who we are. Forgiveness of ourselves for anything that we're holding on to. And I tell you, forgiveness is one of the hardest things that I've struggled with over the years. My dad was, I always say that I get it from him, and I don't know, maybe we're both Scorpios, but sooner or later you have to stop blaming, your birth sign on for holding grudges, right? So I was a terrible grudge holder and held a lot of resentment and bitterness and anger towards, especially my step-grandfather. I had a lot of anger towards him because of the way that he treated my grandmother and my mother. And he was really the only father figure that my mother knew, because her father had, he and my grandmother had divorced when she was very young, maybe 2 years old. So she doesn't really even remember him, and he never was involved in her life after that. So, and then my grandmother married this man who is the only grandfather that I knew, and he was so verbally abusive to both of them. And I grew up watching that and just really feeling a lot of anger and hatred towards him because of that. And it was really bad because of the way that his behavior was. It kept me from having a really close relationship with my grandmother, who I adored. She was awesome. She was just this little spitfire who got out and walked 3 miles every day until she couldn't anymore. She was, I think 83 when she had to finally stop. But just a, amazing woman. But, there are some ways that I behaved towards her and him that I regret. And, I finally got to a point where it was like, I've got to learn to forgive him. It doesn't mean that I'm all of a sudden going to want to hang out with him every day, right? But it just releases that angst, right? And we say that holding on to anger and resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It just doesn't feel good. And honestly, we're going to talk a little bit about this, but when we're going through all this stuff, I want you to think about your thoughts and your feelings as whether or not they feel good or feel bad. And of course, we want to focus on having as many good feeling thoughts as we possibly can. Doesn't mean that that's going to happen all the time. It won't. That's just not practical. But does it feel good? Does it feel bad? And I know for me personally, when I feel angry and bitter and resentful, it just doesn't feel good. And so forgiveness is really releasing you from those feelings more so than releasing the other person from what you feel that they've done. So a couple of quotes that I pulled up about forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't excuse their behavior. Forgiveness prevents their behavior from destroying your heart. Man. Forgive others not because they deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve peace. Oh my goodness. That's from Jonathan Lockwood Huey. Let's see. This one's from Les Brown. Any Les Brown fans out there? I love him. Forgive, and this is about self-forgiveness. So if you are holding on to anything that you feel you're not proud of, or, there's definitely a couple things in my life where it took me a long time to LTSG it, because it was not my finer moments in life. So Les Brown says, forgive yourself first. Release the need to replay a negative situation over and over again in your mind. Don't become a hostage to your past by always reviewing and reliving your mistakes. Don't remind yourself of what should have, could have, or would have been. Release it and let it go. Move on. Whew, man. I wish I'd had that quote like 10 or 15 years ago. And then I shared this one in the email this morning. And this one really goes back to, when we're beating ourselves up and we have these disempowering statements and thoughts about ourselves and beliefs. Remember, you've been criticizing yourself for years and it hasn't worked. Try approving of yourself and see what happens. So that's what we're going to work on today. Okay, and that's from Louise Hay. Oh my gosh, she's like the queen of this stuff. So, okay, so self-love. Let's talk a little bit about self-love. Let me get back to my notes here. Does this stuff resonate with you guys? Do you feel how all of this stuff from all of these years shapes your beliefs and your thoughts and ultimately what you become? Does it resonate? Let me know. Okay, cool. Where did my notes go? Got too many pages here. There we go. Okay. We talked about, feeling good. Really there are two emotions, good and bad. So you always want to check in with yourself. Is what I'm feeling or doing either about myself or about someone else? Does it feel good or feel bad? And I had to catch myself last night. I got kind of caught up in some drama, and I finally had to sit back and say, you know what? This does not make me feel good. I am LTSG. And I immediately felt better. So you definitely always want to think about, does this make me feel good or feel bad? Okay, we talk about forgiveness a lot, holding on to anger and resentment. It's like drinking poison, expecting the other person to die, and it just festers and it grows and it just makes us miserable. So we got to let it go. You have to ask yourself, and this was really, I'm going to tell you a story about my mom in just a second, but am I going to let my past and those who hurt me prevent me from being who I really am? And who you really are is who you were when you were born, when you came into this body on this planet as this perfect little human. That is who you really are. Okay, there is greatness in you. Like I said yesterday, somewhere along the way we forgot that. So you gotta ask yourself, am I going to let my past decide who I am now? No, you are not your past. You are not your past. You are not what maybe someone told you were when you were little. I mean, I think about my mom, my poor mom. I loved her so much. She was so quirky. But so my mom, I told you a little bit about her, her growing up, and, my step-grandfather, who was so verbally abusive. And I mean, to the day she died, he was. And, and being abandoned basically by her real father. So she had some issues, right? I mean, that kind of screws with you. And so how that presented itself is my mom, basically, she felt the only way to get love and attention was through illness. So she would get sick all the time. And not all the time was it, I basically think that she truly believed that she had all these various illnesses, and they, you know, a lot of them did actually show up in her life. So that's what, you know, I saw. And because of how I saw, you know, it was like she was sick all the time. She, it was like always the next thing. Either it was lupus or it was, you know, some other disease that she had, and it was, you know, poor thing. That was how she felt that she needed to get love and attention from people, was basically to get pity. And I'll never forget when she finally did, when she got lung cancer. You know, I remember getting the call and thinking, oh, here we go again. It's going to be something else, you know. And then it actually, you know, it was, you know, was something really bad. So, you know, I hate so much that she had so much pain in her life that she let that dictate who she was, you know, instead of really tapping into who she really was. And who she really was a beautiful soul. And, you know, I saw it, you know, when she was her real self. Don't be sorry, Barb. I mean, you know, it is what it is. And it's, I've come to terms with it, and I had a lot of anger and resentment towards her for a long time because I just wanted a normal mom, right? So, but oh my gosh, when I would get those glimpses of my real mom, you know, she was fun. She could sing great. She had a great singing voice. She was, you know, she basically birthed my sister and I. She was 19 when she gave birth to my sister, and 22 when she had me. She was just a baby, you know? So how awesome is it that we now have the tools, these mindset tools available to us, that we can sit back and think about it and say, you know what? I'm not my past. I am not how I was brought up. I am not going to let, you know, my step-grandfather or my mother or things like that dictate who I am and how I show up in this world. So, you know, you love them and you understand why they acted that way. Now, I can't say that I fully understand why my step-grandfather acted the way he did. I have forgiven him. He has long since passed, but, you know, I definitely, it was a healthy dose of LTSG. It took me many years to do that, but it definitely was liberating when I did. So, let's talk a little bit about self-love, okay? And my whole point on talking about forgiveness and you're not your past is there were some pretty heavy things that came up in the group yesterday, and I love that. I love that you felt so comfortable sharing those things. But we want to work on moving past those things and not letting them define you, okay? Cool. Now, one thing I did want to mention, if I don't see your comment during the live, I am going back and looking at all the comments afterwards because it's hard for me to follow them as we're going, okay? So, self-love. You know, self-love, I talked about it in the workbook. It's kind of been overused. I don't know if you feel that way, but, you know, we hear about it now all the time. And the thing with self-love, it's not a conceited type of thing. It's not about arrogance. Self-love, it's not about, you know, like I said in the workbook, you know, going out and spending frivolously on stuff, you know, because you need to you need to love yourself. You know, treating yourself is really, really cool, but that's really not what self-love is about, okay? Self-love is really about finding happiness from within, even when you feel like you're not where you need to be. And I'm going to tell you that growth is a lifelong journey, okay? So you're never, ever going to actually get there. And that's part of what life is, too, is enjoying the journey along the way. So it's loving yourself right now in the here and now. It's not looking to get validation from outside sources. It's about loving, you know, all of your perceived flaws, we're all perfectly imperfect, right? There is no such thing as perfection in this world. So, and that's where self-love comes in. We have to really be grateful, and think about, what it is about ourselves that is awesome. And there are so many things if you really, really dig deep. And I can't remember, let me look and see if I put this question in here. So when you're going through the questions in the workbook tonight, number one is 5 things I'm really good at are. So if you can't come up with those yourself, think about what people tell you you're good at, okay? So sometimes it's hard to see it in ourselves. So, what do people tell you that you're good at? And then really start thinking about it. And if you think about it, you say, yeah, I am good at that. I freaking rock. When are you the happiest? What lights you up? What makes you feel good? Remember, 2 emotions, good and bad. 3 things I love about myself. That one's probably going to be the toughest for some of you. But think about it, what do you love? And then this is the fun exercise. This is when we get to take those disempowering things that we said about ourselves yesterday, and we get to rewrite it. So the most important thing here is when you start to focus on rewriting those statements, you're going to say, okay, for example, I'm so fat. I hate my butt. Well, okay, so how can we rewrite that to a more empowering statement? We can say, my body, I love my healthy body. My strong legs support my healthy body, and I am able to walk and function easily and pain-free. Just stuff like that. Be thinking about, you've got to switch it around to positive. And the most important thing is when you come up with those empowering statements, you want to cross those old ones out. And it just releases that mental energy. I'm done with you. I'm releasing you. I'm LTSGing it. Okay. A book that I highly recommend about this, it's called The Book of Afformations. It's AFFORMATIONS, and it's by Noah St. John. And he basically he talks about this, about empowering questions and disempowering questions. So a lot of times we will say, why is this so hard? Why doesn't anything ever work out for me? Why am I so fat? Why am I so, weak, or whatever that is? And we always make it into something negative. So he talks about the psychology behind flipping those around. And I've talked about this before, but it's all about, your mind starts to act like a search engine, like Google. So when you say, why is this so hard? Why can't I ever get ahead? Why does nothing ever seem to work out for me? Well, what do you think your mind's going to do? It's going to go out and it's going to search for answers. And remember, that subconscious programming that we're giving, our conscious mind is sending to our subconscious mind, and it doesn't give a crap whether it's positive or negative. So it's just going to take what you give it, and then it's going to give it right back to you. And that, again, molds your beliefs and your habits and your behaviors. So go ahead and go through that exercise and be sure you're crossing the bad stuff out. Okay. I gave you plenty of lines to come up with lots of good empowering questions, and I really would love to hear some of your empowering questions if you want to share them in the group, or maybe on tomorrow's live as we're reviewing. And then as we're wrapping up today, this exercise of creating your empowering statements and then really looking at yourself in the mirror in the bathroom. Close the door if you feel weird, and repeating those affirmations and getting emotional about it. And I'll tell you, the first time I did this, I thought, this is so stupid. Really, I can't do this, But, it was such an emotional experience. And for me to look myself, I had so much shame around so many things in my life at the time. And I would, I couldn't even look myself in the eye in the mirror. It's crazy. But when I finally broke through all that stuff, I forgave myself for a lot of things, forgave other people, I was able to do that, and it is very empowering. And it just, like I said, you are put on this planet perfect. You're born into this body perfect. There's greatness in every single person. It's just that somewhere along the line we forgot that. So as you're doing that, and I put a great affirmation of self-love at the bottom at the very end of today, and it's I really want you guys, and you could use this if you're having a hard time coming up with your empowering statements at first. You can definitely use this affirmation. It's really good. I love my life. I love my heart. I love my body. I love my home. I love my mind. I love my little quirks. We all have quirks, don't we? I love my sense of humor. I love my eyes. I love my family. Getting choked up here. I love to feel inspired. I love to inspire others. I love to feel vibrant. I love to meditate or pray. I love to sleep. I love to drink water. I love to dance. I love to laugh. I love to create. I love my soul. I love my life. Whew. And before we wrap up real quick, I just want to say that that I don't want to minimize anything that any of you have gone through in your life, okay? Because I know that you've gone through some heavy stuff. And the point that I'm trying to make with you is, we all have had our stuff. We all have had stuff. And it really, really comes down to making that choice of not letting it define where we go from here. So hopefully that helps you guys. I think I need to take a couple deep breaths here. Thank you so much for hanging with me. I appreciate you guys so much. And I will, you lost connection. Hopefully we're still on. Yes, so I will send an email out today with just a little recap and also another link to the group in case you haven't joined yet. Hope you guys are getting value out of this. I would love to hear from you. Share it if you'd like, if you feel moved to do that. We will talk to you guys real soon. Love you, and you are beautiful, and you are awesome. And I can't wait to hear those empowering statements that you come up with. Okay? We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Tomorrow, noon.